Okay, we are back, and by back I mean we are doing something else. Doing a different game, and is going to be Monopoly. I thought about doing some different games. There's Risk, which I thought about doing, which I'd love to do Risk, but the AI for that's a little bit more complicated, and actually quite a bit more complicated. And there's this other game called Suro, which is kind of putting tiles down and tracing paths and stuff like that, which is would also be pretty cool. But yeah, the AI for that is a bit more complicated as well. So I thought the next one I'd jump into is Monopoly, which is one of the games I wanted to do. So let's go ahead and finish that off. Our Monopoly is let me just get Git desktop, Git desktop, I guess I should say. So I'll get that. I just like to have that up so I can check what files are being added. You can go over here, you can see it's automatically picked up the class path and the project file, which are the only ones. Yeah, I haven't, obviously, I've just created the project, so there's nothing else, but that's basically it. So, Monopoly, it's basically this. You can see that. That's a really old board because this is a really old copy of the game. My parents actually owned this. I'm not sure when it was made, but yeah, Monopoly right there. So, blocking the entire camera. So yeah, this is kind of a. I suppose if I was trying to make money off of this, putting ads on my video, maybe I could get in trouble because technically this is trademarked, copyrighted by Parker Brothers and whoever else. But uh, I'm just doing a simulator. It's not going to be playable in the end, so hopefully it's not too bad. So anyway, we're going to take a lot of inspiration from Mastermind as to the code structure, and try and do a similar sort of thing. Like with Mastermind, we took the board, we broke it down into logical components. We're going to do the same thing here. So let's just start adding code. So once again, we're going to have a types. We're also going to have a run, a logs. We're probably going to have exactly the same packages for this. So we're going to have controllers for the player and for the AI. We're going to have a logs framework as well. In fact, we might just be able to reuse the logs. Let's have a look. See here. Yeah, you know what? This is all very, very reusable. So we're just going to chuck that in there. I've decided to put these in a separate repository. I was all going to have them in the same repository, the public sims, but I decided in my infinite wisdom that if somebody, because these are all board games and some of them like Monopoly are trademarked, that if somebody said, hey, take that down, it's a bit hard to take it down if they're all in the one repository. You have to actually delete the files. Whereas if if they're in different repositories, then I can just go to that repository, make it private, and Bob's your uncle. So don't lose the code, don't lose the Git history, but it's no longer public, and I'm sure that would make everybody happy. So anyway, logs types. We get a similar run. The run is where all of the complicated code is, so we might not currently copy that. We'll make up some stuff in the end. Let's start with the types. So we want a board. Do we want a player? Which is the like the little dog or the submarine or something like that. I'm not sure if player is the right word for it. Let's grab the rules for over here and see if there's a better word that we can use. I guess player. I mean, you can still have a computer player or something like that. So we got board, we got player. We've got a bunch of other things as well. We've got hotels, we've got houses, we've got chance and community chest, we got property cards, we got dice, and we got lots and lots and lots of cash. Um, I don't think we need to model the actual cache. Like if we see over here, we got a bunch of ones, and if we go further into the box, we got fives and tens and all the way up to 500, so on and so forth. I don't think we actually need to monitor the money, the physical money that's in the game. I think we can allow that to be just an abstract number that gets passed around. So that's one thing less. The property cards as well. These little things right here. It's probably very hard to see, but they've got like the rent amount, the amount you have to pay when you rent, when you land on it, and so on and so forth. So yeah, we'll probably merge. I'm not sure what we'll do, but I think we'll merge them into a single entity. So, because what we've really got is we've got a board, and the board has a bunch of locations, and the locations are all on the board. So, for example, if you land on Pall Mall or something like that, then you're landing on a location on the board, and that needs to be in code. Now, we also need to include all of the information on the Pall Mall card. Now, I'm suggesting that we merge those into one single object. We don't need to worry about keeping the board entity for Pall Mall and the card for Pall Mall as separate entities in the game. We can just have one. And that sort of encapsulates both sets of information. So I think that's probably a good idea. So, okay. We're going to need to do something a little bit fancy though, because there are other locations that you can't necessarily own. So I think what we need is an interface here. iBoard location. This microphone's getting a little bit close to my mouth, so let's move that away a bit. And then we're going to... Unfortunately, this is a little bit more complicated than Mastermind, so... but obviously much less complicated than Kingdom Death, which I've already coded up, but much more complicated than Mastermind. And I think we need more of a... We need the ability to go out and get information randomly, like from any place in the code. And I need to go... from any piece of the code, I need to go into another piece of the code and find out this information or this information, which means that passing variables around is not really going to work for us. Like I think with the, where is it? The game controller over here, we didn't really have any singletons, I guess the word is. So we didn't have a singleton that we could just go into from anywhere and get the information. But I think in this game we're going to need one. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's just do a store package class. I could call it something else, but I'm just going to call it Monopoly Store. Now we can copy a bit of code off here because this is already a singleton, the log handler. So we can just take the same thing again. Yeah, that code is just a bit funky for me. Remembering how to do the instances and stuff like that. So now we go. So we're going to have a private board. And then we're going to have a private list of player. Okay. I think we can just have a list. We could also have a map from the player name to something else, or we could just have a method that does that automatically. So let's get these classes defined straight away anyway. So board, and player. So those will probably be the two main things that we need to sort of worry about. I won't get into that yet. I won't get into the board yet. So board, implement that, implement list, implement player. And we have to make sure that we're not doing anything crazy like accidentally getting a class from the other side. Because remember, this is types board. And the easiest way to make sure of that is we go to properties and Java build path. And if we're referencing anything from Mastermind, then Mastermind will show up here. But you're not going to... It will be pretty obvious if you're actually getting that stuff from somewhere else. So, oh, that's auto adding it in. Okay. Board. Okay, well, that's fine. I suppose if we really wanted to get from Mastermind, we could figure out some way of doing it. But for now, it's getting it from the right place. So let's just not worry about it. So we got the Monopoly store here. Public board, get board, public list player. We're not going to return the list of players here. Instead, we're going to allow this, what we might return the list of players, but what we really want to do here is we want to have a bunch of helper methods. So when we figure out how we want to use the players, how we want to get a hold of them, then we can put functions in here to actually determine, help us out with that. Because otherwise you return the list of players and then you have to say, all right, I want the player whose next turn it is. And then you have to end up with the figuring out which player's turn it is logic in 10 different places when we should really have it in here, just solo. So, but we'll code all that stuff when we actually start playing around with the players. Okay, what are we going to do here? I feel like we could do some stuff with the player. First off, it's easy. The board is going to be a bit harder, so let's just do that. Private string name. We'll give the players names. Just to differentiate them. Although, do we need to? What we might do is we might just use these. These are the shoe and the thimble and the umbrella. Oh, there's no umbrella, but... so let's just do player token enum. And let me get these out so we can figure out exactly what they all are. And then... we'll use that as the player name, the player identifier, I guess you could call it. So what do we got here on the table in front of me? I'm just going to use these. I don't care if they're old. So dog, hat, cannon, car, battleship, which was always my one, shoe, iron, thimble, and... wheelbarrow. Okay. That needs to be a comma there. So we got 9. I'm not sure. This only supports 2 to 8 players, so I'm not sure we actually need all of them, but whatever. We've got them all. And I'm going to reorder them because we'll probably use the ones in order. So we'll get the list and then we'll use it in order. So, battleship, dog, car, dog, hat. I want them to be distinctive. I don't want like a car and a cannon to be the ones that we use most. So I'm going to put the cannon right at the end. But technically that could be artillery as well, but that's just... Yep. Yes. Almost dropped the car, but we are good. There's also 2 dice that come with this game, but I guess I guess we can put them in later. That's fine. The dice are not going to be too much of a problem. So let's whack in player, private player token, private int money. Now, we're going to need a location as well. Private board location. And then we're going to need a list of the properties they own, but we might be able to reverse engineer this. Because when we land on a property, we'll need to figure out who owns that property. So it would be easier just to have a list of all that sort of stuff. Okay, so we got iBoard location. We need to figure out a structure here for all of the board locations. So we got iBoard location, and that is going to need a single method, public abstract player lands on location. Player. So every single board location will need to have logic contained within it to say what happens when the player lands on this location. And I think that's pretty simple. I think that's pretty straightforward, so that should be fine. Now, what do we want here? Now this is an interface. We're going to need a couple of levels of abstract classes though, because I think we're going to need a couple of levels of abstract classes, because we got stations and we got the utilities, and then we got the properties. The properties, you can build houses, and they got different levels of rent depending on the houses. The stations and the utilities don't, so you can't build houses on them. So we need. I think it's going to have to be an abstract relationship, but I guess that's fine. So so let's do another one in here. Properties, and then we'll do an other. And other is going to be jail, free parking, chance, income tax, all that sort of stuff. So we're going to have to define all of these bit by bit. So so let's have a look at own. Let's differentiate between ownable and property. Okay. Maybe we'll have a look at the instructions and see if there's any sort of nice way of doing it. Okay. A player may be entitled to buy real estate or other properties. Okay, I like that. So we got a property, which includes everything, and a property implements iBoard location, but it's an abstract class. And then we're going to have another one, which I suppose we're going to have a sub package as well. We might have a sub package. Real estate. I don't know if we really need a sub package, but it's nice for differentiating it. Okay, so this is abstract a real estate. So this is going to be, yeah, that's fine. Superclass is a property. change to that. Okay. And since this is abstract, it's not trying to go away. Do not put that there. There, put it up there. That's much nicer. Okay, so so what this is going to have is a public int determine rent, abstract int, just get rent. We're also going to have this, so public, private player owner. I suppose we need to define the this as well. This is going to be overridden, I guess. So we will do public int get rent. We just have to remember to override this method in the thing, which we can do, I suppose. So what we do is we go to a real estate, and we override that, and then we return determine real estate rent. Which technically doesn't need to be an abstract method either. That can be a normal method, because all of the properties are going to have, they're just going to have different numbers on them. So yeah, we could start doing it now actually. I don't think there's any, I mean, all properties can have 1, 2, 3, 4 houses or hotels. So now we could have these as variables like this, but that's actually, well, the best way to do it is to have a constructor. You can have a abstract method which the class underneath has to fill in. So you could say get rent and then the class has to fill it in, or you just have a constructor. Now the problem with this is that if we have a constructor like this, a property with int rent, let's do it base rent. And then we'll make this, we got to make these both protected. So if we call this base rent, it can count for the normal amount of rent on like electric company, which never changes. And it can also count as the normal amount of the site only rent for a real estate. And I'm forgetting stations. Stations are complicated. We may have to do something about the stations as well, because if you own more than one station, then the rent goes up. Oh, bloody oath. Okay. That's almost a different type of property then. Is it? I think so, yeah. I think we need a different type of property. So, station, and then we need abstract station. So really it's only utilities will be pure properties. The stations will be completely separate. Abstract. It would be nice if every time you put an A in front of something, it figured out that, you know, what was going on. So a real estate, get rent, a station, get determine station rent. Okay, you are not happy because a property. So do we want... Nah, you know what? Screw it. I'm not using this base rent. This is annoying me to no end. What we're going to do is abstract get rent. What we're going to do is we're going to have a third type of property called utility, because technically I could squeeze it in directly under a property, but then it's a bit messy, and you've got this rent value in the constructor that the other two have to somehow implement, and then it gets all sort of weird. So this is cleaner. This is a utility. So that's a public abstract extends a property. So this one will need to implement. Okay, let's get a property. So by default, when we create it, it's going to be fine, and this is going to be a global class. So if we have a object of type electric company, we will never create another one. We always have the same one. So that's, yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we have this monopoly store, so that whenever we want it, we can just go and get it. But we're not going to duplicate it. So and the way we don't duplicate it is we create a version, one single instance of it at the start of the thing, and then that's it. That's we don't never create it again. So we got that. Determine real estate rent, utility. So here we can just return rent value. We don't need a special method for it. And then here we can do private int rent, public a utility. We don't need a call to the super, although it might complain if we don't have one. Sometimes it does, so let's just do that. Rent equals rent. Oh no, I'm forgetting the utilities. No, they've got their special thing where you roll dice to figure out how much the rent is. Okay, so it's probably a good thing that we that we figure that out. So this is completely and utterly useless. And then we're going to need another determine utility rent method. Which I suppose we could just, we don't necessarily need another method, but yeah, I mean, the way it's come out, we really don't. So anyway, we don't even need this constructor anymore, really. Okay, so okay. So let's figure out how we do these. Well, do we want to fill in the actual rent logistics, or do we want to do the rest of the stuff? I think we want to do the rest of the stuff. So, and we do have iBoard location, which all of these guys should be implementing. And these are all abstract classes. I haven't created a single concrete class yet. So maybe let's create some classes here. Let's just create some classes. So go, yep, which implements iBoard location. That's nice. So that automatically does that. So we're going to copy and paste jail. I'm going to copy and paste chance, community chest. Now some of these will actually be duplicated. They'll have multiple spots on the board. Free parking, and then go to jail, and then income tax and super tax. And I'll just have a look here. That's pretty much all I got. Yep. 1, 2, yeah, I don't think I'm missing anything there. Everything else is a type of property that you can actually buy. So, and all of these obviously have player lands on locations. So that's going to need all sorts of logic to get filled in there. But that's not what we're going to do yet. What I really want is, I just realized, maybe this isn't the best. Maybe this needs to be an abstract class. Abstract. Because I want to put some information in here. A board location. Yeah, I know we got to refactor this. Because I want to do this. Private int index. So this is the point around the board that this location is based on its distance from go. And we need this because we got chance and community chest, and there are duplicates of those. So public a board location int index. Index maybe not the best name, but I guess, you know, what else are we going to do? Now these are all going to be complained because we need to make it like that. Extends a board location. And now they're all going to complain about this. Which we kind of have to pull all the way up, really. So that's probably fine. Extends, so we don't have to do the extends thing again. We just have to add the constructor. Can't really copy and paste that because that's just annoying. Okay. We got to fix these as well. So extends a board location. Now it's going to give you this crap. And these guys we can actually fill in. So super tax is, so let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3. So there's a total of 40 on the board. So we're going to have go as an index of 0, which means super tax is an index of 38 because it's just before go. Income tax. Extends a board location. Okay, we got to make sure we copy and paste that. Income tax is going to be at the start of the board almost. 1, 4. So that's an index of 4. Jail is going to be at 10, I think. Jail is always at 10. We're going to have to do some funky code to do with passing go and collecting money and stuff like that, but yeah, that'll be somewhere else. That'll probably be higher level. Go to jail is going to be 30. Go is going to be 0. And then we've got the other ones. This might actually take quite a while to do this stuff. The last one, we got the entire game for Mastermind done in one video before we even started working on the AI, but I don't think we're going to be as lucky here. This is going to take some free parking as 20. This is going to take some stuff. What I'd like to do is like to get the board set up though. So the board with all of the locations, all the different classes. Community chest. So, okay. So this one we need to keep an index because that one is variable. Extends, and then we create that. Now, I'm going to do... do we want to do the setup in here? I feel like it's easier if we do the setup in here. So let's create a SAS setup method. No, if we do the setup method in here, it's all private, and then we can't mess with stuff. So we definitely want to be able to mess with stuff when we initialize it, but we still want the board to end up in here. Okay, how do we do that? What's a good way of doing that? I guess we have an initialize method in here. Public initialize board list players. Okay. And then we have to start getting our run package going. I'm gonna call this Monopoly Run. And we're gonna copy this a little bit. All right, we'll copy this method and then we'll delete most of it. Monopoly Run. We got to be careful because if I save it and it's referring to either of those, then we'll dump a whole bunch of crap in there. So let's not get the run counts in there yet. No, we'll copy that shit in later. Copy this stuff in later. New Monopoly Run. Wow, I didn't copy anything at all. Basically, all of it got chucked out. Okay, so that was a waste of time. And we didn't get Mastermind on the build path, so that's good. So let's get a new package setup class board setup, and this is going to have a public static board get board setup. Board equals new okay, and then Monopoly Run. Okay, board equals board setup dot get board setup, which we're going to rename to just get new board. Get new board. See, I think if we do stuff like this, then it gets it from Mastermind. So we're just going to do this one. We also need a player setup down here, which we might as well do as well. Player setup. Public static list player get all starting players players equals new for int I equals 0, I is less than monopoly run dot player count I plus plus players dot add get you starting player. Okay, let's create that. What I'll do is I'll pass in I, int I, and return a new player who has starting cash. I don't think starting cash needs to really be a variable, so we're going to say, what is it? Player token dot values I 1500, which I think is the amount of money they'll start with. So we need to go to the player and we need to create like a void public player token. Technically we don't need to pass in the money, but I will, just because I like to screw with things in other places. This dot money equals money. This dot location equals location. And this needs to be a board location. Okay, so new player, so we need to pass in go as well. So we're going to do this. Store dot get instance dot get board dot get location 0. Okay, so we'll fill that out later, but it should be pretty obvious what that method is doing. Player start, create constant. We're going to start off with 4 players. So list player players equals player setup dot get all starting players, which needs an S on the end, and needs that done. Now monopoly. Now I just realized that store.getInstance.initialize, that we need to split this initialize method up because the players actually need the go location. Oh, what we could do, we could just pass it through, I guess. A board location go, and then we can do the initialize properly. Okay, we'll still keep that method, but yeah, so then what we can do is we can initialize board players. So it's a little bit of a hack, but most of the time we would go into the Monopoly store. Okay, board.getLocation0. And this is the nice thing about having methods like getLocation. There's just sounds so natural to use them. So board setup.getBoard. So we want board.add location. I think it's going to have to be a map here. I think it's probably nicer to store it as a map. 0 new go. And so private map integer a board location. Okay. Public board. This dot board locations equal new hash. Can't type, damn you. It's not that hard. Actually, I think I turned off sticky keys at some point. It was annoying me. I can't remember why it was annoying me, but it was annoying me. So I turned it off. And so let's just turn it back on and let's see if my typing improves a little bit. Board locations. Well, where did my mouse go? Okay. Dot get index. Let's put some stuff in here. If board locations dot index log handler dot get instance dot crash log cannot access location with index on board. So we should have 0 to 39 as valid locations, and anything else should be absolutely not on. Okay. We're going to do the opposite here. If we already have a location there, cannot add location to index. The location already exists. This is really stupid because that's going to be, it's only if I do something very extremely stupid that that's going to actually happen, but put index location. Okay, so now we've got this guy, and we just need to fill this in, I guess. So let's start off with community chest is at 2. So let's put that in. Yep, and then we got income tax at 4. I wonder if it would be nicer to actually have all these guys still taking in. We could, and then we could move locations around the map and sort of play around. But I'm not gonna. That's a bit over the top. I don't think we need to worry about that. We can we can do that later if we really want to. So we got a chance at 7. You know what? Technically, this doesn't need an index because location dot get index. The location will always know what its index is. Return index. Okay, so that's much nicer. So then we got chance, and then we got jail, and then we got what do we got here? Just community chest at number 17. Okay, so let's just before free parking, which is over here. If I'm doing stuff that you don't, it's kind of like, what the hell is he doing? You kind of need to have a copy of Monopoly open next to you to sort of follow along, I guess. But go to jail. And then we'll make this super tax. And then we just need a chance and a community chest. So community chest and then chance. So the community chest is just after go to jail. So that's on 33. And then chance is on 36. So let me get this straight. We got 3 chances. Dum, dum, dum. And we got 3 community chests. Dum, dum, dum. Okay, that's beautiful. So go, income tax, jail, free parking, go jail. I'm pretty sure we got everything here. I'm pretty sure that's all taken care of. So what are you complaining about? Okay, location. What? You should be an integer. Thank you very much. Now, here's the thing. I'm wondering, real estate. Does this need to be an abstract class? Because I was thinking that we should actually have individual classes for each of these. And I'm not sure that we really need it. But maybe we do. It's going to be very difficult. Is it? Okay, let's think about the to's and fro's here. The pros and cons, so to say. So let's start with the simplest one, the utilities. So we got 2 utilities. Let me go and find them in here. Actually, let me sort them all out. So we've got a whole bunch of properties. We've got 4 stations. Then I got 2 of these. So it's extremely hard to see, but basically, if you've got one, the main thing is the rent. So if you've, well, that reminds me, a property, protected Boolean is mortgaged. So this dot owner equals null. This dot is mortgaged equals false. Okay, easy enough. So with this sort of stuff, okay, so what we don't really care about what their names are, is the thing. What we really care about is whether or not you own 1 or 2 of them. So when somebody lands on you and they got to get rent, you got to figure out, okay, the person who owns this, do they own the other one? Yes or no? We don't care about which particular one they own. We just care about if they own another one. That's all we care about. So, yeah. So that means we don't really care about the names, which means this doesn't really need to be an abstract class. It just needs to be a utility. Public a utility. So a property. You know what? Since we're doing that, let's put the name here. String name. We won't put the name. I mean, technically the others all have names, but I don't feel like we want a name variable for them. Although, technically we should. I mean, technically, string name. Because you think about it, when we output stuff, we're going to need to display the name. And I mean, you can't just like display the class name or something. Now this, of course, is going to screw up all of the constructors for all of these guys. But that's fine. We can manually fix them. and then free parking. Yeah. I suppose if I was actually doing this to be like a proper tutorial or something, I'd probably put pauses and just fill these in off camera, but whatever. I don't want to splice together video. Although it's not actually that hard. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. Cut down the times anyway. We'll think about it. That'll be a possibility. That'll be a possibility in the future. We gotta figure out what to do with jail as well, because a person can be in jail or they can be just visiting, and that's technically two different squares on the same spot, which is going to break some other code. So I don't think I want them to be two different locations, but yeah, we may have to think about that. I don't want them to be two different locations, but maybe we will have to. So A, real estate. So you're another class that's now a I don't think you're going to be an abstract class either. I think I'll make you one of these. And now it wants me to do that. Okay. Station. Well, let's do it anyway. So name, and then we move this over to the end, because we like to maintain the order. We're gonna refactor. And since these are not abstract anymore, and we're not actually going to need classes for the other bits, potentially what we could do is we could move them down. I don't think they need to be in separate packages anymore. Refactor. Yeah. Definitely do not need... If they end up going back to abstract classes later, that is going to suck. But for now, there's no point having a package if it's only going to have one class in it. So A, property, real estate, station, utility. Okay, so now it's complaining about this. So we'll have to add that. So let's think about... So, yeah. So, determine utility rent. We're going to need dice utils, which I think I've actually got that in KDM stats. Let me just quickly go over. Okay, that's not too hard. Okay, let's just get that and get that. And I shouldn't really be showing that code. I keep telling myself I shouldn't be showing you that code, but anyway, jail. So we need a dice utils. Anyway, now that we've got the dice utils in this thing, we won't need another one again. Dice utils. And there is some stuff about potentially seeding. So we don't need a D10. We don't need a D5. All we need is a D6. Okay. And technically what we actually need is... No, we need 2D6. Roll 2D6. Roll D6 plus... Okay. So where were we? This method needs to be filled in as well. A property, super index, name. So this no longer needs to be in there because it's now in the upper level. An A board location should probably be protected instead of private, just so it's nice. Oh, it's so good. You look over at the GitHub desktop and look at all the files we've created. That's a lot of content right there. Okay, I still like to push through, and I think we've been going for quite a while here, but I'm not too fussed. Let's just go through and board setup, I guess. Theoretically, we can do board setup right now. It might be a pain, but to update it later. New real estate. Old Kent Road. So this is 1. That's going to be allowable. Yep. And then 3 is going to be Whitechapel Road. Yeah, this is definitely the sort of stuff that I would do after the video finishes, so I probably should. I'll think about doing pauses in the middle of videos later on, so just type all this stuff in, and then, you know what? Let's give it a try. Let's give it a pause and then come back and see how it works. Okay, so back from our quick break. Well, your quick break. My break was not so quick. So it still only took me a few minutes, but there's a lot of them. There is a lot of them. And as you can see, it goes from line 21 down to line 60. So beautifully got 40 in there. I realized as I was typing that we have not got the constructors for these all complete. We still need to do things like the purchase price, the mortgage price, and for the real estates, we need all of the little numbers like how much the houses cost, how much the rent costs with you got one house or site only or hotel or blah, 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 blah. All of that stuff still needs to be added in, and it will be added in these constructors right here. So this is going to turn into a mess. But we haven't even determined what those values are going to be yet. And to be honest, I'm starting to get a bit tired. So I think we might start calling it here. Tomorrow, or whenever I do the next video, we'll get back into a little bit more of filling these out. So we got the board, which is what I really wanted to do. So we got the board. And yeah, so we've got to fill out a bit more information in the board. The players are fine. I think the players are pretty easy. We might want a reverse relationship so that we can see what properties they own. The problem with the reverse relationship is we've got to maintain it on both sides. So we're currently maintaining it from this side. So this side goes up to the player. Now we could do some fancy methods. Like for example, because we know all this, we could put a method to say pass in the player, give us all the properties they own. And we could use that reverse relationship, and then we only have to maintain it on one side. And performance-wise, that's a little bit of a hit, but I mean, honestly, it's Monopoly. So I'm not sure if that's going to be a problem, really. It's not going to be a problem. So I think we do that. I think we just maintain it from one side, and then that's okay. And we definitely need to maintain it from the property to the player because of rent purposes. So yeah. And other than that, I mean, the players are pretty much nothing. I mean, we don't really care. I mean, there's what else is in there other than the properties they own. But yeah, we're going to have to start expanding these classes pretty heavily. We're going to have to start filling in the logic for these. And then we're going to have to start doing stuff. Now, with Mastermind, we had a user control in at the start, and then we added the AI later. I think we're just going to go straight for the AI in this one because Monopoly is a fairly complicated game to get the concepts around. It's also a fairly complicated game to play, but the AI is pretty simple. Like, for example, the decisions that a human has to make are fairly simple, but there are a fair amount of things that you have to do. Like you have to roll the dice, you have to move your piece, you have to decide whether you're going to buy a property or not, you have to pay rent. So, yeah. So I'd like to just get it straight to the AI because those decisions are not that hard for the AI. There's going to be a few main things. I think there's three main problems for the AI in this game. The first is trading. So that's going to be a problem. The second is building houses. When's the best time to build houses? And that could probably be expended to buying properties as well, because if they land on a property that costs $200 and they got $250 in their wallet, do they buy the property? What's the risk assessment? And you'd have similar logic for the houses as well. So that's going to be the second one. And the third one is going to be, I don't know if it's going to be a problem, but there's chance and there's community chest, and some of them, I think, target other people. I think you can choose. No, maybe not. I'm just having a look at them now. Yeah. I don't think there's any decision making. They're kind of pretty deterministic, like in terms of go here, do this. The poorest player pays you this much, or the richest player pays you this much, blah 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 blah. So maybe that's not bad. Maybe there's only two then. So when to spend money and when to trade. And trading is going to be the really interesting bit. I've got some ideas about risk models, I guess, in terms of if I give this person this, how much is this property worth? So if you give it to a person, they've already got the other two, then the property is worth a ton more to them. So you've got to factor that into your trading model. And you would tweak it to the point where, I don't know, we might even have different player models. You might have a complete arsehole player who just refuses to trade, refuses to let anybody else build up a set. And then we might have a nice player, and the nice player is always like, yeah, you can, that seems like a fair trade. We'll trade cards that cost the same, even though the other person's getting a set and you're not, and they can't figure out that they're actually getting a really crappy deal, even though the cards cost the same on face value. which is kind of my mum. When we play Monopoly, she's just like, she just wants everybody to be happy, but it's not the way to win Monopoly, unfortunately. So those will be the two main AIs, but we'll just faff it. Maybe next, I'm not sure what we'll get next time, but we'll definitely want to have a simulation running with X number of players. And I think what we'll do is we'll just not allow them to buy houses and not allow them to trade. So no houses, maybe houses. Maybe we'll code in houses. But at the very least, I say the first run is going to be no houses, no trading. Just let them buy up and get rent and blah, 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 and see how it works. We might have a Monopoly game that lasts for like 100 years with nobody buying houses and nobody trading, but it'll be interesting to get the game running. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. It'll definitely be more performant than Mastermind because you don't have to do any complex calculations, but yeah, we'll see how we go once we get to trading and purchasing algorithms. Hopefully they'll be pretty straightforward though. So anyway, that's pretty much done for now. I may iteratively put up put up the code, but yeah, I may not. I'm still unsure about that. So anyway, I'm going to finish this off now. I'm going to join this video to the other one, and then I will see you guys later.